Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going today?
Morning.
All right.
Morning.
Let's see here. See, do we have everybody? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forstein, are you available?
I don't think she's joined yet.
Okay. And Commissioner Rojas. Not sure if I see him yet.
Yeah, I don't see him on the list yet either.
Okay. Well, we do have a quorum, so Joe, is everything ready on your end? We're ready to get started?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the June 1, 2021 City Planning Commission meeting. I hope everyone was able to get out, pay tribute to those who served our country, and enjoy the cool weather before the dragon swoops in and heats things up for us. We appreciate everybody here today as we hold our meetings virtually. We're talking about the format of our meetings moving forward, whether in person, virtual, or a combination of the two. We're still working out the details, and it will likely be the August meeting before back in person with a virtual component. So just trying to figure out how that's going to work and the details of that. So just be patient as we go through our meetings here. Any feedback that you may have is welcomed, and you can send comments to planning@kcmo.org. We understand every project is important, and we want to make sure we address them all with the attention that they need. The goal of our meetings is to be brief and heard. We have time limits in place for the cases that we hear, which is 5 minutes for staff presentations, 20 minutes for applicant presentations, plus any questions by the commission. When we move to the public comment stage, please limit comments to 2 minutes for individuals or 5 minutes from those representing a community, association, or a larger group. Today we have a couple, so when hearing cases, some of the time limits required may be waived, but that's at the discretion of the commission. The city is updating the comprehensive plan with a new one titled KC Spirit Playbook. Check out playbook.kcmo.gov for more details and to add any input that you may have. As we get started, I ask staff to briefly provide some ground rules and instructions for all of us to ensure minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Joe, do you mind going over those ground rules, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The basic rules are that there are two types of attendees participating via Zoom. There are panelists, which consist of staff and the commission members themselves. And then there are attendees, which is everyone else participating via Zoom. If you are interested in a case and you're the applicant or member of the applicant team, please raise your hand when I call the case, and we'll promote you over to a panelist position so that you can be prepared to speak when it's your turn to speak on that case. If you're a citizen, neighborhood, or resident interested in testifying on the case, please raise your hand during the staff presentation on the case, and we'll promote you over when the chair calls for a public hearing, and you'll be able to testify at that time. It will appear to those folks who are being promoted over to a panelist position and as though they're being kicked out of the meeting temporarily, but you will rejoin momentarily. And at that point, you will be able to share your video and your audio. So please, once you're in the panelist position, remember to mute yourself when you're not speaking and to unmute yourself when you're ready to speak, and share your video if able. The chat feature in Teams is intended to discuss the agenda and order of the agenda, what case we're on, and any technical issues. It is not intended for discussing the merits of a project, so please refrain from doing that. And I believe that covers everything, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Well, let's go ahead and get started then with the consent agenda items. Looks like we don't have any continuances on those, so let's go ahead and open them all up and read them accordingly.
Okay. First one is docket item C1, case number CPC 2021-00025. This is Cadence Second Plat, the southeast corner of Northwest 108th and North Platte Purchase Drive. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Docket item C2 is case number CPC 2021-00026. This is Cadence Villas, also located at the southeast corner of Northwest 108th and Northwest Platte Purchase Drive. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Docket item C3 is case number CPC 2021-00063. This is the Village of Viewcrest, which is located near 95th Terrace and Northwest Viewcrest Drive. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Docket item C4, case number CPC 2021-00080. This is the Union Bank at the Village at Shoal Creek, which is located at the northwest corner of North Booth and Northeast 82nd Terrace. Staff is recommending approval without conditions. Docket item C5, case number final plat 2021-00007. This is Hunter's Glen second plat, which is located north of the intersection of Northeast Pawpaw Drive and North Manning Avenue. And on this one, staff is also recommending approval with conditions. And I believe that the planner, Jared Clements, may have some revised conditions to offer on docket item C5, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about those. If we can go to C5 and who's the planner on that one?
It's me, Commissioner Crow, Jared Clements,
Okay.
city staff.
Good morning.
Good morning. The only substantial change to the conditions is the condition number 13. This is referring to temporary cul-de-sacs. That has been changed simply because the review period for the review period ended after the staff report was prepared. It reflects the plan as it is now. It has been changed to not refer to cul-de-sacs, but rather temporary through streets. I can share my screen briefly.
Okay. Is this just a text amendment to number 13, or is it to remove it, or?
Yep, just a text amendment. This is the new condition here.
Okay,
Can you see my screen?
barely. Can you zoom it in quite a bit?
Absolutely. Can you see it now?
No change.
Is the conditions and corrections report visible?
Yes,
It is. It's just not legible.
Yeah, it's just really, really small.
I think there might be a lag between my screen. I'll just read it. It says the developer must construct a temporary access road between North Kelly Avenue and North Kentucky Avenue with a temporary access easement dedicated to the city and execute a maintenance agreement for said access road covering the entire easement area until such a time as both roads are extended beyond the limits of the plat as required by the Land Development Division prior to recording of the plat.
Okay, has this been discussed with the applicant?
Yes, it has. That is essentially reflecting what the applicant desired. They changed their plan because they had difficulty being able to install those temporary access cul-de-sacs for fire turnarounds to meet those conditions to the north here. So instead, they agreed to create through streets temporarily between Kelly and Kentucky Avenue. Staff is still in support and recommends approval with conditions.
Okay. All right, so are there any questions from the commission on docket items C1 through C5? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. Is there anybody out there that would like to speak on docket items C1 through C5 from the public?
Mr. Chairman, there was a person named Ryan Martin that I promoted.
Okay,
He may be the applicant.
I'm the applicant for C5. I just wanted to be available for any discussion on that item.
okay. All right, thank you.
And Tyler Wysong has also raised his hand. I've promoted him.
Okay. Good morning, Tyler. As you take yourself off of mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. I'm Tyler Wysong. I'm the applicant for C3. Just had a quick question on one of the conditions.
Okay. Let me, hold on a second. Let me finish up any public testimony first before we do that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else that's raised their hand, Joe, to speak on any of the consent agenda items?
No one else has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony at this time. So go ahead, Tyler. Let's hear your questions about docket item C3.
Yeah, I had a question about condition number 8 on C3. Just like it clarified, as far as it says, the south half of 95th Terrace shall be improved to residential local standards for half street improvements. And I would like it clarified just to say that we'll do half street improvements across the project's frontage, not the full property limits. Lot 3 takes up a portion of the frontage and is shown to be constructed at a later date. So I'd like to just show half street improvements for the portion of the property that we're improving today.
Okay, so first, can you state the rest, your name and address for the record?
Yeah, it's Tyler Weissong with Kimley Horn, and we are at 1828 Walnut Street, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. So a question came up. Who's the staff planner for docket item C3?
This is Jared also.
Good. Okay.
And that would be the intent, Mr. Chair. So if the applicant would like us to specify that and the commission wants to do that, staff is supportive of it too.
Okay.
Land
Good.
development would not be supportive of that. This is Stacy Lowe with land development. The intention is that they're supposed to do the frontage of any portion as they plat it. So if they are having to plat a portion of it, they're supposed to do the street improvements at that time. I will also make you aware that the applicant hasn't contacted me prior to today to mention any concerns with this condition, so I was unaware of it.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't aware they were platting the entire street frontage. Jared, can you confirm? Do you know if that's the case?
I'd have to pull up the plans. Give me 1 second so I can be sure.
Joe, the boundary of the final plat shown on, I believe, sheet 11 of the staff report shows they are platting the entire area.
Yeah, that is correct. They're platting the lot to them. So this project was approved as a two-phase development. Townhouses were one phase. That's what you're being asked to approve on the final plan. But this is not a final plat application. So that's why I'm a little thrown here. That would need to be a separate item, a separate application, Tyler. So if the intent is the final plat both lots right now, then you would indeed, I agree with Stacy, you would need to plat the frontage or improve the street frontage along both lots. But I assumed you were not doing that at this time. So I guess we need clarification from the applicant what they intend to do. I don't think the commission can approve a final plat today, even though that's shown in the plan set as a sheet. That's not, we didn't docket it, and we haven't received an application request for that.
Okay, I think we can provide clarification on that as far as the lots. I think the final plat was added just for kind of give additional detail, but we will clarify on the final plat which lots will be platted at that time.
Okay, so for this go around, Joe and Stacy, how do we move forward with this condition? That because at this time we're just approving the final development plan or the MPD.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. You are only approving the development plan, and I would recommend the conditions stay as is. But what portion of the improvements will be done on which phase will be directly tied to the plat, which, as Joe said, you're not approving as part of your actions today.
Okay, so that'll get updated as they move forward with the final platting of the site.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Does that make sense,
Yep,
Tyler?
that makes sense. Thank you
Okay.
all.
All right, so with that, any questions from the commission on those consent agenda items? All right, then I'll entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve docket item C1, C2, C3, C4 as stated on the docket, and C5 with condition number 13 and to be revised as stated by Jared discussing the through streets.
Okay, so I've got a motion.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. And C5 having changes to condition 13. Lisa, can you take a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes 7-0 on those consent agenda items. All right, well, let's go ahead and move to our regular docket items. And Joe, if you don't mind, let's take a look at those that want to be continued to a different date.
Sure. The continuances are docket items 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, and 14 and 15. So I'll go back to 2, which is case number SUP 2021-00032. Request to approve a special use permit in District R7.5 and R80 to allow for a funeral service to occur within an existing religious assembly building on 31 acres located at the northwest corner of Interstate 470 and James A. Reed Road. Staff and the applicant are both requesting continuance to June 15th without fee to allow additional time for public engagement to occur. Docket item 3 is case number SUP 2021-00038. A request to approve a special use permit in District B4-5 and M1-5 to allow for an existing halfway house and detention facility for a period of 2 years on about 1 acre located at the northwest corner of 16th and Campbell. Staff and the applicant are requesting continuance to June 15th without fee. Docket item 4.1, case number CPC 2020-00074. Request to approve a development plan for the I-49 Industrial Center, a logistics and warehouse facility on about 101 acres, located at the southeast corner of Botts Road and Missouri Highway 150. And docket item 4.2, case number CPC 2020-00181. A request to approve a council-approved sign plan for the same development at the same location. In both cases, staff and the applicant are requesting continuance to June 15th without fee. Docket item 5.1, case number CPC 2021-00078, the Samuel U. Rogers Housing, Health and Wellness Campus. This is a request to approve a rezoning to District UR to allow for the construction of a 62-unit multifamily development on 5 acres located at the northeast corner of East 9th Street and Euclid Avenue. And docket item 5.2, case number final plat 2021-00012, request to approve a final plat for the same. Staff and, or I'm sorry, the applicant was requesting continuance of this case to June 15th without fee. Docket item 8, case number CPC 2021-00060, the Plaza East Apartments. This is a request to approve a development plan in District R1.5 to allow for a major amendment to an existing community unit project in order to add impervious area and amenities on about a 21-acre site located on the south side of East 45th Street between Paseo on the west and Woodland Avenue on the east. The applicant and staff are requesting continuance of this case to June 15th without fee. Docket item 10, case number CPC 2021-00067, Hy-Vee at Shoal Creek Parkway in North Oak. This is a request to approve a rezoning from District B2-2 to District MPD and approve a preliminary development plan, which also acts as a preliminary plat for the development of commercial, office, and retail uses consisting of a 68,000 square foot grocery store, a 4,500 square foot gasoline and fuel sales building and fuel pumps, and a 14,000 square foot retail and office building on about 10 acres located at the northeast corner of North Oak and Northeast Shoal Creek Parkway. The applicant and staff are requesting continuance to June 15th without fee. Docket item 12, case number SUP 2021-00034, Kansas City Girls Preparatory Academy. A request to approve a special use permit on about 5 acres in District R2.5 to allow for a school at the northwest corner of East 17th and Van Brunt Boulevard. The applicant and staff are requesting continuance to June 15th, no fee. Docket item 14, case number CPC 2021-00089. A request to approve a rezoning from District R1.5 to District O2 to allow for a home health office and daycare center on about 3/4 of an acre located at the southeast corner of North Logan Avenue and Highway 40. Staff is recommending continuance to June 15th without fee. And docket item 15.1, case number SUP 2021-00017, request to approve a special use permit for light equipment sales and rental outdoor on about 1/2 an acre located at the northeast corner of East 9th and Chestnut Avenue. And docket item 15.2, case number SUP 2021-00018, a request to approve a special use permit for general auto repair at the same location. Staff and the applicant are requesting continuance of both of these cases to June 15th without fee. And that concludes the continuances.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any questions from the commission on the continuance of these cases? All right. Is there anybody from the public that would like to discuss the continuance of any of these cases read?
Brian McDaniel has raised his hand. I'm going to promote him.
Okay. Good morning, Brian. As you take yourself off of mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Brian McDaniel, 603 Northeast 108th Court. So our question is for the Hy-Vee plot, which is
Okay.
CPC 2021-0067. So that has been continued to the 15th. Was there a condition for that continuance, or was there a reason why?
Is there a reason why that was continued, Joe?
The applicant has agreed to provide revised plans prior to CPC and just needs more time to prepare those and submit them. And actually, I think they were just submitted last Friday.
I'm just curious because I mean we had the one meeting with Hy-Vee and Patricia and the Hy-Vee representatives and lawyers, and now I've not been able to reach it. I reached out to them via email, and there's no contact anymore from them, so there's no way to know what's going on.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Patricia Jensen has raised her hand and I promoted her.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. Brian, you did reach out to me via email, and I am going to send you the updated traffic study that we submitted with the revised plans on Friday.
Okay, that'd be great. I just wondered what was going on.
Yep.
Ms. Jensen, do you mind stating your name and address for the record, even though we know?
Sure. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Patricia Jensen with the Rouse Fretz Law Firm with offices located at 4510 Bellevue.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anybody else that's raised their hand to speak on the continuance of these cases stated?
No one else has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and close public testimony on the continuance of the regular docket item. So if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion from the commission for continuance of the docket item stated. We might need to review which ones they are too, so we make sure we got them all.
I think I can give it a try. I move to continue docket items 2, 3, 5.1, 5.2, 10, 12, 14, 15.1, 15.2, as stated on the docket, and docket items 4.1, 4.2 to June 15th without fee. Docket item 8 to June 15th without fee, and that's it.
Okay, great job. I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for continuance of those cases stated in the motion. Lisa, can you take a roll call, please, on that motion?
Yes. Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes to continue all those cases, 7-0. So that takes, do we have one dismissal, Joe, number 7?
Yeah, I lost my cursor there. I was muted, couldn't find it. Yes, docket item 7 is a dismissal at the request of the applicant. Would you like me to go ahead and read that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that so we can act accordingly.
Sure. Docket item 7 is case number CPC 2021-00082. A request to approve the 3400 Campbell Street Urban Renewal Plan as required by the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority Law of Missouri on about half an acre located at the southwest corner of East 34th and Campbell Street. Again, the applicant has requested dismissal of this application.
Okay. Is there maybe a reason why? Do we know? Is it just not coming together or what's happened?
Robert Long with the EDC is the applicant, and he did not specify when he reached out last week. I'm not certain.
Okay.
He is on the line though and has raised his hand.
Okay.
So
If you
I'll
don't-
promote him over.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Long. If you don't mind stating your name and address for the record. As you come off of mute there, that'd be great.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Bob Long with the Economic Development Corporation on behalf of the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority. The applicant actually withdrew the application after we had a hearing at the LCRA meeting and decided to withdraw the application. So no need to proceed with it.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, any other questions from the commission? Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on dismissal of docket item number 7?
Mr. Chairman, no one is raising their hand.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Angie Split Gerber had raised her hand and I had promoted her. I've forgotten briefly. Sorry.
Hi, good morning, Angie. If you don't mind stating your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Angie Splitgerber, 3341 Campbell Street, 64109. I actually, Mr. Long took care of it, so I have nothing more to add.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, this time we'll go ahead and close public testimony. And I'll take a motion about docket item number 7.
I move to dismiss docket item number 7.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second to dismiss docket item 7. Lisa, can you take roll call, please, on that motion?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like motion passes then to dismiss docket item number 7. Okay, with that, I guess we're ready to go on and hear our cases that are before us today. So, Joe, I guess we'll go back to docket item number 1.
All right. Going back to docket item 1. This is case number CPC 2020-00058, a request to approve a major amendment to a previously approved development plan in District UR to allow for the expansion of Foley equipment and stream buffer modifications on the site, which is about 31 acres located at 5701 East 87th Street, or at the southwest corner of East 87th Street and Interstate 435. Christopher Huey is the staff planner, and I believe this might be the last time he'll present to the commission. So I think most of you know he's taken a new role in the department, and he did that a few months ago, and he's been working through cases that were assigned to him and doing 2.5 jobs. So we appreciate his help.
Yeah, thank you for all your help and everything you've done for us. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, thank you, everyone. Joe, thank you for the kind words on that. I appreciate it. I am having a little bit of technical difficulties with my machine today, so Zach's going to help me present. So I'll let him kind of cue up the PowerPoint, and I'll just say next slide whenever it's appropriate.
Can you see that, Chris?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so next slide, or second slide when you get a chance. Thank you. So as Joe stated, this is a major amendment to a previously approved UR rezoning and development plan for the Foley equipment site. This site is located at 507 East, or excuse me, 5701 East 87th Street. Essentially, the applicant seeking kind of 2 key elements. They are realigning the stream buffer in the particular site area. They have gone through necessary waiver requirements. I'll kind of touch on that here in a little bit, as well as some major building expansions which necessitated the major amendment. They have completed their public engagement meeting on March 4th, 2021. Next slide. This is a general location of the site in question. Next slide. And here's the site more specifically. As you can see, it's an existing large-scale facility for Foley equipment located at the southwest corner of East 87th Street and 435 Highway. Next slide. So that's kind of, we talked about, it's a major building expansion. You can see highlighted in the site plan here that there's kind of a 2 additions running from the existing building running east, as well as a third standalone building that will be developed in the future. Next slide. Here's the proposed building additions to the site itself. Apologies, having a little technical issues here. The 2 major expansions, again, come off to the side of the building, primarily for their vehicle repair maintenance aspects of the business. The standalone building in the future has not been as formally designed yet, but that will have a similar character and architectural feel. Next slide. So the existing building contains about 132,000 square feet. With an existing secondary structure to the south that's behind the building that you saw on the site plan. That's 18,000 square feet. The additions to the primary structure will be 18,000 square feet and 15,000 square feet in the future, as well as a 30,000 square foot standalone building, which will be formally designed at that time. The addition is also taking into account a large amount of impervious coverage addition, as well as some topography changes that will affect the stream buffer plan. Next slide. Given the substantial amount of work impacting the stream buffer, the applicant has already preliminarily worked with city staff to address those concerns and get necessary Army Corps of Engineers approval. This modification waiver to the stream buffer plan was documented in Ordinance 201032 and has been previously already approved. Next slide. Here's the existing relative alignment of the existing stream and flood zone for the subject site. Next slide. So here's kind of a before and after. This is the existing condition slide showing how the topography kind of starts to almost bifurcate the site and running north and south. And the proposed changes below show how they're changing the topography to mitigate the necessary changes to the stream buffer and how they're proposing to adapt the site and be compliant, generally speaking, with our city's rules and regulations. Next slide. Oh, skip that slide. I'm sorry. That was a holdover from a previous presentation. Next. There we go. So the only kind of unique scenario from a site design perspective is the applicant has done a great job of proposing necessary street trees and vehicular use area screening along East A7th Street for the area of expansion changes. Staff has asked that there be additional street trees and landscaping incorporated around the remainder of the street frontage to incorporate a cohesive design and kind of bring the site as a collective up to current code. Next slide. So with that, staff does recommend approval of this particular application subject to conditions. That will conclude my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission to city staff on this case? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Patricia Jensen. Rouse Retz on behalf of Foley Equipment. Joe, I believe David Dickey, Craig Highfill, and Matt Gibbs or Randy Groton are on via Zoom and should be promoted at this time.
Matt
Chris,
and David have been.
Okay. Chris, are you in a position to share the PowerPoint we sent to you guys on Friday? Or is Zach?
I am not, unfortunately. I can try to work with Zach to navigate to that.
Or how about Kelly? Is Kelly, sorry, Mr. Chair, is Kelly Madinger on? Joe?
Yes, she is, and she just raised her hand and I promoted her.
Okay, yeah, she can operate the PowerPoint. So Kelly, would you click on the PowerPoint?
So Kelly, do you have the access to share this PowerPoint? There we go.
Yes, she does. So pull it up big, so there. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, just up front, we don't have any issues with any of the staff conditions. So we are asking that you approve this, subject to all of the staff conditions. As has been stated, this is for Foley Equipment. Next slide. And I think the site has been identified for you by Chris on his PowerPoint. It's really right at I-435 and 87th Street. The next slide shows the zoning of the property, which is currently the UR zoning district, and then the adjacent interstate highway. Next slide. Just a little bit of history for you. Foley's a great company. We're very pleased that they're here in Kansas City, and allowing this expansion is going to help retain them in Kansas City, Missouri. So they were founded in 1940. They're led by a third generation family owner. They have 15 facilities with more than 1,000 employees. In 2012, they expanded to Kansas City with the acquisition of the Dean Machinery property, which is what this property used to be. And they are WBE certified. The next sheet. They have 232 employees in 2020. That's up from 168 when they first entered the Kansas City area. This site has 183,000 square feet of building area And once the expansion is complete, they'll have another 40 to 60 full-time employees. Next slide is the approved site plan, the current approved site plan. And then the next slide shows you the stream buffer. As it's been stated, we worked very hard to address the stream buffer issues and the pinch point that is created here by the stream, the current stream. We believe that the stream was disturbed when 87th Street was put in. And through all that process, through the helpful work of Stacy Lowe, we've been able to address those, and the council approved the stream buffer exception last year. And that allows Foley to remain at that site. What was so important about being able to address the stream and the stream alignment is to create additional area for the large equipment that Foley provides to be able to go around the site and go around the buildings. Next slide is the proposed site plan that Chris has already identified for you with the expansion area and then that additional building shown on that slide. The next slide just gives the figures on the proposed site plan. It's a building expansion of about 18,000 square feet, an additional 45,000 square feet in future improvement in future phases. We're dealing with underground detention, public storm sewer extension, storage area, visitor and bicycle area, the stream realignment, and the stream realignment is done correctly. It's no Foley spending a substantial sum of money just on the stream realignment itself. It's about a $9 million project, and we're working with the Corps as it's been stated. Next slide shows you the revised site plan and the elevation of the building, which Chris has already shared with you. The next slide are additional elevations. And the final slide is that we would request that you recommend approval of this case subject to the staff conditions. And we're available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to the applicant about this project? I did have one question, and that was whether or not there needs to be any easements to the neighbor to the south for any of this excavation and changing the stream buffer.
David, can you answer that question? I know you've been in contact with Purcell.
I can. Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. My name is David Dickey. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Foley Equipment, located at 5701 East 87th Street, and have been one of the executive leads on this project. No, it does not. We do have a signed letter from the quarry and the quarry owner acknowledging that we will be doing the project, but does not require any easements as we own actually some of the property on the other side of the stream where it will be realigned.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chair,
other questions from the commission?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I've got a question. Just in regards to, and maybe this is a part of yours too, Mr. Chair, the impact on the stream realignment on the properties upstream and downstream of the Foley property. Can you just give us an overview of what that impact could be?
I mean, Stacy Lowe might give you the city's view of it. We believe that this is actually improving what's occurring in that area and will help preserve the stream long term. Will help preserve the water quality. It is not going to create any issues for any downstream users or downstream owners.
I have a question, and it may be for staff because I'm just sort of interested in how this. Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, Stacy, can you just confirm that for us?
Commissioner Allender, I'll try to confirm it to the best of my knowledge. We haven't reviewed the storm studies yet since there have been no permit applications submitted to the city. But this project, because it is in the floodplain, we'll have to get a floodplain development certificate and work with the Army Corps of Engineers. So there is a very high level of oversight that will be required prior to the Corps approving this project. So my assurance is, and it always occurs with the Corps, that they will ensure that no either upstream or downstream property has a negative impact because of this project. And I do agree with Ms. Jensen. Foley Equipment is putting in the time and effort up front to properly plan for the stream alignment. So I believe they are doing what's in the best interest of all the adjacent properties to improve this area as part of their project.
Okay, great. And then one more question, Stacey, with regards to being built in the floodplain. Is the city getting an indemnification from Foley for any future flooding on that property?
This stream buffer went through the process with the city council prior to the council starting to require indemnification agreements with every stream buffer waiver. That is something that the staff have been reluctant to do, but it was at the council request that we started it. There are numerous requirements in place regarding any development adjacent to floodplain. So unless Water Services or the Corps deems that something's necessary during their review process, I don't believe that will be required.
Great, thank you. Sorry, Ashley.
No, that's okay. Sort of related though. I just was trying to understand, Stacey, what are the requirements as far as runoff? I'm just thinking in terms of, and this is more of a general question beyond this project, but just trying to understand when industrial sites are located next to stream buffers, the extent that, you're preventing contamination and that water quality. What kind of regulation is in place?
For every development across the city, no matter its location adjacent to a stream or not, the city has water quality requirements that they have to meet and water quantity requirements that they have to meet. They have to satisfy both sets of requirements. So both the water quantity and water quality will be reviewed as part of their storm drainage study. It's also something that the Corps of Engineers will look for, especially since they are adjacent to the floodplain.
Okay, any other questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. Is there anybody out there from the public that would like to speak about docket item number 1?
Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Okay. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Anything else, applicant, before we close all testimony?
No, thank you.
All right. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close all testimony. And if there's nothing to discuss by the commission, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve docket item 1 without conditions. Is that correct? It should be with conditions, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
With
30 of
condition.
them.
Okay. It said without on the docket, so I was just making sure. I move to approve docket item 1 with conditions.
Second.
Okay. All right, so I've got a motion and a second. Lisa, can you take a roll call, please, on that stated motion?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for docket item number 1, 7-0. We appreciate you coming in and recognize the hard work you guys have done so far on this, and good luck getting it going.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Joe, I guess that moves us up to docket item 6.
That's right. Docket item 6 is 2 companion cases, starting with 6.1, case number CPC 2021-00084. This is a request to approve the Cleveland Duplex Urban Renewal Plan and declare the area blighted and unsanitary and in need of redevelopment and rehabilitation required by the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority Law of Missouri on about 13 acres located at the northeast corner of East 53rd and Cleveland. And docket item 6.2, case number CPC 2021-00065. This is a request to approve a rezoning from District R6 to District UR and approve a preliminary development plan to allow for the construction of a community center on about 1 acre at the northwest corner of East 53rd and Myrtle Avenue. Olofu Agbaji is our staff planner.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Plan Commission. Olofu Agbaji, City Planning and Development. I'm trying to see if I can get my video to show, so just give me a minute. Can you see my screen though?
Yes, we can see it, Olofu. Thank you.
And you can hear me too?
Yep, but it looks like you've got both your screens up. So you got like, I think if you go to your display settings and just hit so we can see just the one slide you're talking about instead of one slide and then the one right behind it. Does that make sense?
I'm coming. Let me see. I can see them both. So
if not, just go ahead and.
Okay. Let me reshare now. Okay, is that working?
Yeah, now if you hit the. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as Joe said, these are companion cases, and this is located kind of in the Midtown area, south just off Blue Parkway, where my arrow is pointing, specifically around 5300 Cleveland. This is the area, just the Blue Parkway Town Center is just to the north of the site, and this is the area for the LCRA UR Urban Renewal Plan, and the area for the UR Plan is just to the site. So area for the UR Plan is the small box of 53rd and Myrtle, and the Urban Renewal Plan is the area 13 acres highlighted in the general area. Again, this is a snapshot of the overall area. And the reason for this is that the UR plan or the Urban Renewal Plan currently covers an area that's zoned UR. This area is what's going to be rezoned to be made part of the UR plan. That's the existing UR plan. Quick project information. The project is about, for the Urban Renewal Plan, it's about 13 acres. And then the rezoning is about just under an acre, 0.65 acres. So the current zoning is both UR for the existing duplexes and R6 for the area to be rezoned. This project was approved, the Mount Cleveland duplexes was approved as part of the overall Blue Parkway Town Center. And actual final plan was approved in 1997 that allowed for 41 duplexes for a total of 82 units. So we will be approving a new Cleveland duplexes urban renewal plan today. And then the UR plan will allow for the construction of a 3,500 square feet community center with 9 parking spaces. And this will be used for both a gathering space for the residents and also leasing office and maintenance space for the duplexes. Again, the duplexes is just, not the duplexes, is the duplexes are to the west of this proposed area for the community center with parking, and then most of the parking will be on the east side of the building with access to the rear for an overhead door for the maintenance facility. This is a floor plan that was provided. And the building will be constructed mostly of cement fiber, hardy plank, brick, and dimensional shingles. It will be just a single-story building with a residential profile. And this is what the building will look like. Staff's recommendation of the first case is for approval without condition, and of the second case, approval subject to the 23 corrections and conditions. I think Mr. Long is on, and he will be doing the presentation on the urban renewal plan for the findings of light. And I'll ask Bob if he wants me to share his presentation or if he's going to share it himself.
If you could share it, that'd be great.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Long with the Economic Development Corporation here today on behalf of the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority. The matter before you today is the proposed Cleveland duplexes urban renewal plan. This is designed to facilitate a significant reinvestment in these duplexes, which are I think all but 8 of them are designated as affordable housing. That's a low-income housing tax credit project. This project is being sponsored by community builders through one of their real estate entities for this project. Olafu, do you have my presentation?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, so this shows the general location. It's not far east of 71 Highway, just south of Blue Parkway. Next slide, please. This shows some of the conditions existing in the duplexes. There's been some deferred maintenance in the slide on the picture on the right there. I believe there was actually a fire there and there's some damage to the building. Next, a lot of the buildings showed a lot of this deterioration of the siding along the base of the walls. And on the right-hand side, you can see some of the balconies that fascia board at the base of the balconies is basically, it's unprotected. It's unfinished and deteriorating. These are fairly typical conditions. Here you can see the some of the damage to some of the siding and things. And again, on the right, you can see some of the deterioration along the base of the walls. Next. Okay, so the urban renewal plan was our proponent was RCG2 LLC, which is affiliated with Community Builders. It's located near Cleveland and Blue Parkway. It's part of the Mount Cleveland neighborhood. Phase 1 of these duplexes were actually built in 1997, and phase 2 was built in 2004. There are a total of 40 duplexes with a total of 80 units that'll be rehabbed. 72 units are affordable and 8 are market rate. And I would like to point out that the 8 that are at market rate are basically still affordable housing, because market rate there is pretty much meets the definition for affordable housing. This is a low-income housing tax credit project, and Community Builders does have their tax credit allocation and financing in place for this project. So they are just going over some of this. Many of the duplexes show deferred maintenances. Many of the conditions are beyond just normal wear and tear. They are going to require extensive renovation work. Staff believes the property is blighted. Actually, the LCRA has already made a finding of blight. So we are recommending that you approve of finding of blight and recommend approval of the proposed urban renewal plan. be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions from the commission for the applicant?
I have a question. So Bob, can you clarify? So this is a life tech project and has been since the 90s, and this is a renovation of that?
Yes.
Okay. And is it the same company, like Community Builders has been involved since the 90s, or has this changed hands as part of this process of renovation?
That Allison may be able to answer some of those questions for you. I've been here a long time, but the first phase of this project actually predates my arrival here in Kansas City.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I address
Yes.
that question?
Yes, please do.
Hi, I'm Allison Bergman, Hardwick Law Firm, here for the developer at 2405 Grand Boulevard. So Community Builders has many affiliated entities, and it is affiliated with the tax credit entity that built and maintained this project throughout the initial tax credit syndication. But it is not solely in control. So this isn't a sole proprietorship or anything like that, where Community Builders has been solely able to maintain and address all of the issues. I do also want to mention that this is a resyndication of the tax credits and is being done with the Housing Authority of Kansas City. So the project and the Housing Authority has had units in this facility as well for a long time. So just wanted to clarify that this is actually part of a limited partnership and is going to be resyndicated. So there are actually multiple owners as part of this project.
So Allison, can you clarify the affiliates that were part of this early on in phase one? Are they identical in this next phase, or are we looking at different partners?
Different partners, other than Community Builders and the Housing Authority. We have different investors in this transaction than were in the original iteration.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
We've only addressed the exterior for blight, and for this project, does that include rehabbing the interior?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Beasley, there will be extensive interior renovations to the buildings as well. It's not just the exterior conditions. There will be a significant amount of interior work done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I had a couple of questions myself, and just so I understand, the area that we're looking for, the blighted, is that, all the units, the 41 units themselves, or is it just a few of them at the corner?
It's actually covers all of the existing duplexes.
Okay.
Plus that area where they are going to be building the small community center.
Okay, and then as far as the 6.2 with the converting it to UR, is that also all the units, or is that I guess part of it already is a UR? So it's just a portion of it.
The duplexes are already zoned UR, I believe, and the property where the community center will be built is zoned residentially, I believe, but it's currently vacant. So in order to facilitate the construction of the community center, it would need to be rezoned to UR.
Okay,
Since it'll be part of the urban renewal area.
Okay, and it'll be tied in, so all the properties will be tied in together?
Yes,
after this?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the commission? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony then. Is there anybody out there that's raised their hand to speak about doc item 6.1 or 6.2?
Mr. Chair, the only people that have raised their hand on this are members of the applicant team. I don't know if there's additional folks that want to speak from the applicant team or not.
Okay.
Good morning. This is Emmett Pearson, President and CEO of Community Builders of Kansas City. I would just say this is a project commission. You want to jump in? I was gonna say thank you for your consideration. This is a project we've had for over 20 years, and it's time to for some tender loving care. So that's what we've been able to do and successful in getting award tax credits. I would also point out, I think Mr. Long kind of pointed this out a little bit, but we have 18 units that have been with the Housing Authority since its inception, and those units will continue to be. So we have tenants and residents that we're serving from 30% below median income, 6% below median income, and our 8 units, as Mr. Long alluded to, are still 80% below median income. So even though we say market, it's still 80% below median income. So this project really goes to the heart of what the new ordinance is all about in addressing all types of housing within this one development. So that's it. Thank you so much for your consideration. Mr. Langenkamp?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, this is Bob Langenkamp, also with Community Builders. With respect to the UR rezoning, staff has a number of conditions. We agree with all the conditions with one exception. With respect to the signage, there's a staff recommendation that we move the signage further to the north to deal with a 10-foot setback, which Olofu may correct me on this, but I believe that might be the setback for signage in the underlying current zoning. We would request that the commission consider allowing us to leave the signage where it's located on the site plan submittal so that the visibility to that signage is improved along the street there, as opposed to having to move it further north. Otherwise, we're in agreement with the recommendations on the rezoning from the staff.
Okay, thank you. Olofu, let's see. First, I want to continue. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on docket items 6.1 and 6.2?
There was one other clarification. This is Elizabeth Schultz, also with Community Builders, and it was related to number 4. Number 4 referenced both short-term and long-term bicycle parking, and that it would be applied to code. We request that we follow the parking ratios that are indicated on the UR for 2 short-term bicycle parking spaces. There is space available within the shop should there be need for long-term spaces, but we do not want to dedicate those. So we request that we follow the table indicated on the UR. And then also just a point of clarification for the commission. Item number 16 references improvements to Myrtle Avenue. We have a vacation request in with the city, and those improvements indicated on number 16 would be necessary if Myrtle Avenue was going to be created. So at the time of the vacation, once that goes through, we are currently working with Homesteading Authority to get the proper signatures to complete the vacation of Myrtle Avenue, that we would not be doing those improvements as indicated on number 16, just so the commission is aware.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on docket item 6.1 and 6.2?
No one additional has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close public testimony. So now going back, applicant, we've got some concerns about condition 1, 4, and 16. So I think I've heard those. I'd kind of like to hear staff's response. Olofu, if you don't mind.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Correction number 1 is the normal setback for all plants. It's usually 10 feet. In this case, do you guys know what the current distance is? Elizabeth, do you know what the distance is that you'd like to?
The current distance is 5 foot from the property line, and it's 17 feet from the curb line. So the recommendation would push it to 22 feet.
No, it's from the property line. So you're asking for a variance from the Plan Commission and Council for, or waiver from the 10-foot setback to be 5 feet.
Correct,
Is that what
to
I'm
5
hearing?
feet.
Okay, if you revise the plan, make it clear that you want that waiver granted for 5 feet. And you are asking the Plan Commission today to grant you that waiver of a 5 foot.
Correct.
So we'll make that record that that the Plan Commission, if they choose to support that waiver, would make that recommendation to City Council. Is
Okay.
that right, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, just me personally, it seems reasonable. I mean, it's an existing sign that's been there a long time, so, you know, why move it at this point in time? That's
No,
just my thought.
it's not an existing sign. It's a new sign, correct?
I thought the way they talked, there was an existing one.
It's
That's what I thought as well.
No, it's a new sign. And that's why they're revising the plan to show it. So it's a new sign for the community center. They want it closer to the street. It's a residential neighborhood, so it's not a heavily traffic or traversed area. So if the Plan Commission is willing, that's the other option will be they will go for a variance, but as part of the UR process, they can establish those setbacks with the UR plan. And that's what I think they're asking. Correct, Elizabeth?
Correct.
Okay.
So that would be a choice of the Plan Commission. And regarding number 4, Elizabeth, you can also show a parking space for the long-term indoor, but as a community center, you will show your outside required based on the required short-term parking for people coming from the neighborhood to the center. So, but with the long-term, you can just show a space, like you said, inside the maintenance building. And that would be if the maintenance worker was coming to work and he rides his bicycle, he'll park his bicycle there. Or if people that work in the building are coming to work and they ride their bike, say from the duplexes, they will park it in a secured location. So yeah, that's fine if you show it inside. And I think number 16 is Miss Lowe. So I'll turn that over to her.
This is Stacy Lowe with Land Development. I was unaware today there was any issue with this condition. At this point, I don't believe I could support it because it appears the vacation might take some lots and cut them off where they would no longer have proper public road access. So unless there's a development plan that's overarching to show how this is going to be redone, I would have some concerns about that vacation and removing the requirement for the half street improvements.
Okay. I'm just trying to look here on mapping.
Mr.
Where
Chairman,
Myrtle-
if I could address Ms. Lowe's comment, please. Allison Bergman again.
Okay.
We have appeared before both the Homesteading Authority and the Land Bank asking for approval of the vacation. The properties to the, I think that would be to the east, that I think are the properties that are being referred to are actually owned commonly by Homesteading and or the Land Bank. And because they have frontage on a public street, they are not apparently issues of concern to have the alley vacated further, the street vacated further. The street is not developed. So it's not used in any respect now with relation to those parcels.
I would need verification from someone in development management that that vacation will not also violate the city's development code, because you will be removing street frontage from those properties. I understand that there may already be approvals, but we will have to make sure that complies with the code as well. At this point, I can't confirm that. We have not seen any of the overarching plan for all of these lots to see what would be proposed in the future, and that's part of my concern at this time.
Stacy, could we edit the condition to suggest that if a vacation is not approved by the city council, that they have to make the half-street improvements? Since they're separate requests and we don't know what the council will do with the vacation.
Joe, that's already essentially implied. If there is no right-of-way approved by the city present at the time, then we won't be able to require the improvements. So
Okay, I'm just trying to, I hear what you're saying. I just think the applicant is concerned with it staying in there regard if it ends up being vacated, and that they're worried that someone will make them build a street. I agree with you that we won't, but
they'll have to provide proof to the land development staff at the time that comment is made that they have completed the vacation process, including approval by council, to get it waived. That would be the requirement no matter what, if this came up in a different manner. So the process will have to be completed by council fully before we would not request those improvements. So I'm up for the rewording. I would prefer it stay as is, but I can go either direction.
This is Emmett Pearson. Allison, how do we want the wording to be?
I would think that if perhaps we could just, going back to what Joe was saying a minute ago about the fact that if we could reword it to make it conditional so that if the street is not vacated, that the requirement for improvement would be required. So it would be a contingency that would be self-executing depending on what happens on the vacation.
So your suggestion is just to add, if not vacated, comma, at the front of the condition 16?
Yes, sir.
And please note the staff will require that vacation approved by council. So if council denies it, we will require those improvements. So I would strongly suggest you get the vacation process moving quickly.
Okay.
Ms. Lowe, thank you for that. And just so you know, we've been working for several months with homesteading and land bank, trying to get the approvals and the documentation signed. So we are definitely cognizant of the urgency of it.
Okay. All right, any other comments on the three conditions?
So can we read back what condition 16 would now read?
Yeah, I think we're just placing, so Stacy, I'm sorry, you had a couple extra comments in there, but is it okay if it just right at the front of it says, if not vacated, comma, the west half of Myrtle Avenue shall be improved? Is that what everybody understood?
Yeah, that would be my understanding. I'd basically put it to say, if the right-of-way is not vacated as approved by city council, then Myrtle Avenue shall be improved.
So if right-of-way not vacated by city council or approved, right-of-way not.
If the right-of-way vacation is not approved by city council, then Myrtle Avenue will be improved.
Okay. Okay, I think I've got that. You got that, Commissioner Allender? Okay, any other questions from the commission to the applicant and before we close down all testimony?
Yeah, I have one last question. And I am supportive of 6.1 and 6.2. I'm just curious, since Community Builders has been involved for the past 20 years, I was wondering if someone could help me understand the process of regular maintenance. And is it a situation in which, based upon the units and the work that you all do throughout the community and the limited amount of resources you all have at a given time, that this is the process where unfortunately we do get to a point where something is deemed blighted and then the incentives are in place to do a larger project that involves a lot more work, or can someone kind of illuminate how, what happened over the 20 years? Was it doing a lot of minor work that was more feasible, and this is addressing things that weren't allowed for in the existing budget for this property?
Yeah, this is Emmett Pearson. The short answer is that on these, everyone wants to have affordable housing, but affordable housing is very expensive from the nonprofit standpoint. What I mean by that, so MHDC will only allow 2% rent increases every other year. So if you can imagine, the rents are restricted. So, rents have been roughly $500, $550. So repairs come quicker, are more extensive, and the rent increases are not able to keep up with the amount of repairs that are needed over it. This project is 24 years old now. So it was in 1997. So, it's time for, some upgrades. But the short answer is that we've got to find a way to allow for a balance between what tenants and residents can pay versus what the increases need to be to keep up the maintenance. And it has to be more than 2%. 2% is not very much. So that's the short answer.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And then just if you don't mind, so clearly this is the most efficient way to address the problem. And again, I'm appreciative of, or I'm supportive of both these and appreciative of your all's work. In an ideal world, is it simply affecting the rent, or is it, or the allowances of rent increases, or is it more of an ongoing funding type program that's more, holistic and sustainable?
Well, I think without getting too much editorializing, yeah. I think we have to find a way to allow for more, we have to offset what tenants can pay, and it has to be commensurate with what needs to be done to keep these properties above. To be very honest and very candid, we're just successful in getting this project. Right now, community builders are spending roughly about $550,000 a year on just maintenance of this affordable housing because we can't raise the rent. And where we are, what you see in many places, which is why you don't have a bunch of market rate, and what we call market rate is 30% below median income. You don't see a whole bunch of developers coming to the east side because they can't drive that rent up to cover their monthly expenses and put away on a monthly per unit basis for their reserves. So we're kind of stuck. We want to keep them truly affordable. And we say affordable, in this case, our rents are ranging from, I think it's $590 up to $700 off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me, but that's kind of the range with garages, I may add. And so, you don't see the rents that we would like to see to be able to drive and have, the type of repairs that we need. Of course, the pictures that staff, showed you are literally the worst ever. One is a fire that we just had probably a couple of weeks before the picture was taken. But if you were to drive there now, and they're located right behind the health center, they are not that bad. We were unsuccessful 2 previous years in getting tax credits because MHDC told us that the units were too nice. So, and as a nonprofit, we can't keep putting that kind of money into doing affordable housing because it's going to put us out of business. So again, without editorializing, I'm just trying to give you a little glimpse into, as we're having, and the city's having, and the redevelopment agencies are having all these conversations around affordable housing, and ours is truly affordable, and also understand that we have 18 units of public housing, and those rents are extremely restricted. There has to be a better mousetrap to allow us to not have to wait 22, 23 years to do wholesale improvements and, still be able to provide outstanding housing.
Thanks. That all makes a lot of sense. I thought that's kind of the, difficult path that you all were treading, but I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Sure.
I had a question about just like your process of the folks that are already living there, and during renovation, what extent you can avoid displacing them, or do they have an alternative place to live as these improvements are being made, or maybe some of it is not invasive enough to warrant that. I'm not clear on that.
So Commissioner, again, we have an outside party working with us to handle that very issue. It is not anticipated that we're going to have very much displacement. Folk want to come back here, one, because they're large units and because they have garages, and MHDC is not allowing developers to build garages anymore. At least they haven't approved any application in the last 5 or 6 years. So we've had several meetings with the residents. What they're asking is, can they get back into their exact unit? And what we're saying is, because of the timing, you may be in a like unit. You know, we're going to try to accommodate that, but we're not promising that. So we are not anticipating having a large displacement. The 8 units, to give you a little bit more insight, the 8 units that are market rate are actually 6 of those are folk that have been living there since 1997. And so they have, you know, kind of got gradually a little bit more income. And so that's the need for the 6 to 8 units. In this case, 8 units of market, but those are some of our original tenants, which kind of gives you a sense that people still want to be there. So we are not anticipating folks saying, I want to go someplace else. Of course, they have that option, but we are not, you know, advocating for that. And we are having, I think it's 6 units, maybe 8 units that we're going to move people around as construction continues. So it's kind of a merry-go-round in a good way, people going to the housing within the development itself. So, but we have an outside party dealing with that to deal with those kind of issues. The other short answer is we're not leasing. So we stopped leasing to new folk probably back in December, so that we would have some units to move people around and as construction is going on.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I just got one more, just so clarification from my perspective on the signage. It's new signage, but you just want it 5 foot setback versus 10. Is that just because nobody's going to see it, or what's the reasoning, seeing it's new signage, not existing signage for the deviation?
Yes, Commissioner, this will be new signage. The whole basis and orientation for the rezoning is for the new construction of the community center on that site, and the signage is relationship with that. So this will be new, tied into that construction of that community center. It's not an existing sign.
And the reason for the deviation on the setback is you can't see it from 10 foot setback versus 5?
It's just, we're hoping to have it up a little bit closer to the street. So it's a little bit more of an announcement and a locator, just improved visibility for the signage itself.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, there's the.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, anything else to add, applicant, before we close all testimony? Okay, seeing none. So let's go ahead and close all testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's no discussion really needed, then let's go ahead and I'll take a motion. And remember, we're going to need to take these in 2 separate motions. One is for 6.1, for blight, and then 6.2 with the actual rezoning of the
I'll
project.
start with 6.1. I move to approve 6.1, finding the property blighted.
Okay.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for the finding of blight in 6.1. Lisa, can you take a roll call, please, on that motion?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, so it looks like the motion passes for the finding of blight and 6.1, 7 to none. And I'll take a motion for 6.2.
Move to approve docket item 6.2, amending the first plan correction to read granting a waiver of 5 feet from the property line, and then also amending plan condition number 16, adding to the beginning that if the right of way is not vacated by council, and then the rest reads as written.
Okay, yeah, can I just amend that language? So if the
Yes.
right-of-way vacation is not approved by city council.
And then don't we have one for 4?
Yep.
I understood it to be that it was fine the way it was written.
Yeah, they just need to amend the site plan to show the long-term biking on the inside of the building. So there's no change to that one. That's what I understood. Okay, so I've got a motion for approval of 6.2 with modifications to 1 and 16.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second. Lisa, can you take roll call, please, on that motion?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 7 to none. We appreciate you bringing your project in. We thank you for all your hard work that you do and the benefits you provide for the community. So good luck with the project.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you.
Yep. We'll see you next time. All right, is everybody doing okay to keep going on? So let's go ahead with docket item number 9.
All right, docket item 9 is 3 companion cases, starting with 9.1, case number CPC 2021-00068. This is a request to approve a rezoning from District R7.5 to District O office to allow for a change of use to an existing building from residential to hospital, along with renovation and expansion work on about 14 acres located at the northwest corner of West Blue Ridge Boulevard and Warnell Road. Docket item 9.2, case number CPC 2021-00070, a request to approve an amendment to the Red Bridge area plan to allow a change of use of the existing building at the same location. And docket item 9.3, case number SUP 2021-00022, a request to approve a special use permit to allow a change of use to an existing building into a hospital at the same location. Shu Wood is the staff planner.
Good morning, everyone. This case in front of you has 3 companion cases. As Jill stated, it includes a rezoning without plan, an area plan amendment, and a special use permit. The subject site is generally located in the South Kansas City. More specifically, it's located on the northwest corner of Warner Road and West Blue Ridge Boulevard. It is currently zoned R7.5, and the adjacent land use including R7.5 to the west and to the north. To the west and to the north, including single-family houses and a golf course. And to the east side of the subject site is Warner Road. Directly across Warner Road, including land use for religious assembly and apartments that zoned R0.5. And on the other side on the south side of the subject site is West Blue Ridge Boulevard. And on the other side includes the residential properties zone R80. So here's a view looking north from the intersection of Warner Road and West Blue Ridge Boulevard. The subject site is located on your left hand, and there is a church, like a religious assembly, as I mentioned, directly across the street from Warner Road. This is the view looking east from West Blue Ridge Boulevard. The subject site is located on your left hand, which is heavily wooded. There is currently an existing building which is vacant at this point. It has two wings. It has its large wing, the east wing located next to Warner Road, and its west wing, which is located to the west side of the east wing. And there is a large wooded area to the south of the property. The property contains three parcels, and the applicant proposed to demolish the west wing as shown on the site plan and convert the west wing area into outdoor spaces for tennis court and other events. The applicant also proposes a trail located to the south of the west wing in this naturally wooded area. So there are three cases as staff recommended approval without conditions for 9.1 and 9.2, which is the rezoning from R7.5 to O district, which is office district, and the area plan amendment. And staff also recommend approval with conditions for the special use permit, as stated in the correction and condition report. That shall conclude my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission to city staff?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. We have received an update on this case. This was before the update has been received. We actually received updates from Stacy Lowe from Land Development Division. She requires a preliminary stream buffer from the applicant, which I believe she has not received yet. So staff will recommend a continuance on this case to June 15 for the applicant to resubmit the required documents for a stream buffer plan. And I have to mention that we received a quite amount of testimony, including objections and just the concerns and comments from the public. So staff would recommend a continuance to June 15 for all three cases, but open to public testimony today. I'm sorry for the confusion here.
Yeah, frankly, would have kind of like to know that beforehand. We're still looking for that information as part of hearing this case. That way we could have waited on all of that instead of, setting our quorum right now. But no,
the applicant would prefer to have a public testimony on this case, and they have been notified that staff would recommend a continuance to June 15 at this point. But sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, so we're trying to continue without any applicant testimony today. Is that what I understand?
No, we're trying to continue with the testimony today.
Okay, so we're just going to hear the case and what the applicant has to say and any public testimony and then continue
That's correct.
to a future date.
That's correct.
And will conditions potentially be updated for the next meeting?
So.
Or?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we can't ask any questions today of the case. We just need to listen. Is that the direction?
That is the expectation.
Well, I think this is Joe. I think what she was apologizing for is that we should have mentioned right before she presented that is what's before you today because of the condition recommended by Ms. Lowe. However, since she gave a presentation, you've established a quorum, so you might as well, it's up to the commission, of course, but there's no harm in asking questions or taking testimony if there is any from the public or from the applicant, since you've already established a quorum by hearing a staff presentation.
Okay. So, I mean, we might as well proceed ahead then with hearing the case with the understanding we might be continuing it to a later date for final approval or denial. Okay. Any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, then let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. Applicant available?
That's me.
Yeah, I promoted Bob Johnson moments ago. There he is.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Shu. Bob Johnson, Polsinelli Law Firm, 900 West 48th Place, Kansas City, Missouri. Chairman and commissioners, thank you for having us today. Shu did send me an email here while we were on saying that Stacy was looking for more information from our engineers on the preliminary stormwater analysis. So certainly very willing to accommodate that. And I've already notified our engineering team to follow up with Stacy immediately and make sure that she has all the information she needs. So that will be in process as we speak. With regard to the plan, Shu, if you have my presentation, that's great. If not, it's really essentially that site plan that you have shown already. So if you want to put that up there, that would be great. Just would like to briefly walk through the plan here, add a couple of more details on top of Shu's presentation. Yeah, if you actually leave it there, that'd be great. So this is the existing site. As Shu mentioned, the existing site today has 3 buildings on it. You can see the northwest building and the central building, and then that building in the southeast. The X-shaped building in the southeast is the only one that will remain. The one in the northwest and the central building will be demolished. The building in the southeast is conducive to the use. The wings allow for proper layout of the residential component and the offices for medical and other personnel. And we've frankly believe that removing the other buildings will provide even further of a land use directive here to meet our goal, which is to create a holistic recovery experience for the patients. And so as Shu mentioned, if you go to the next slide, please. What we'll be doing is, in place of the 2 buildings that will be demolished in the northwest and central portion, not seeing it up there for whatever reason. I'll keep talking while it comes up. Great. Are some recreational opportunities, as Shu referenced, volleyball at the far northwest corner there, pickleball, and a basketball court in the central part of the site, and then some kind of outdoor gathering spaces and a fountain and a fire pit area where the folks that'll be at the facility will be able to engage in outdoor recreation and outdoor gathering. And then, as Shu mentioned, also the heavily wooded area that comprises most of the site will remain. There will be a mulched trail, won't be paved. It'll be a mulched trail that will follow the grading that's there today, that would be interwoven between the trees. The goal would not be to replace any trees, any living trees. If there are trees that need to be replaced because they're downed or what have you, those would be removed to clean it up. But there would be a trail that would go through the site and would allow a nature experience for the residents there. Again, to create this holistic continuum of care that I'm going to speak to in a minute. I will mention that I believe Paul Melnick, the chairman, CEO, and founder of Sauna Lake, is on today. To the extent there are questions for him or things appropriate for him to mention or discuss or answer for you, he will be willing and able to do so. Let me just give you a brief overview of what Sauna Lake is, who they are, what they do, and what this application is and what's intended to do. Sauna Lake is a behavioral wellness and medical treatment facility for individuals seeking treatment for substance abuse disorder. Patients are there voluntarily. They choose to go to Sauna Lake to better themselves and to better their lives for themselves and for their families. This is a facility that would be within the Sauna Lake program continuum of care, which lasts typically over 5 years, to include this initial phase of care and then moving into an outpatient experience where people within the program would continue with Sauna Lake and continue to receive treatment and counseling over a period of 5 years, modeled on a program for doctors and airline pilots that has an extremely high success rate. of over 90% for the individuals that stay with the program. Sauna Lake's been operating facilities for over 9 years, has a very, very strong record of patient success, and as I mentioned, has outpatient facilities as well as part of their own continuum of care. So they would stay within the Sauna Lake system, stay within the facilities that Sauna Lake provides, including 2 within the metro area. Sauna Lake currently has a facility in North Kansas City and in Overland Park for the outpatient component of the program. This component is not in the emergent stage, which is the initial stage that individuals may be in if they're having an emergency case of substance abuse reaction, where an emergency room, for example, would be a better place for them to be treated. This would be after that initial emergent phase would be subsided, the acute phase of care where they do need a medical component to the treatment and also a behavioral wellness component to the treatment would come, again, voluntarily check themselves into the facility and be there approximately 20 to 30 days and not leave. They don't leave, they don't drive, they don't leave the area, they stay there. They are working with staff the whole time. They are monitored by staff and they are treated so that they can improve their lives. Again, I spoke to holistic approach. I'll just say a broader societal comment. Thankfully, the destigmatization of seeking treatment for substance abuse disorder has been a growing drumbeat in our culture, in our country for the last several years, which means 2 things. First of all, it means that patients are more willing to voluntarily seek treatment and come to places like Sauna Lake where they're not forced to go, they choose to go to better themselves, and also leads to more care options and better care options and approaches like this that aren't just for emergent cases or aren't just to house people temporarily, but actually are there to treat the whole person. As this facility is intended to accomplish. And frankly, that really gets to our discussion today from a land use perspective. That's why this site works, because it has over 14 acres. It's a very large site. Over half the site here, as you can tell, is wooded, is nature, is buffered completely from other uses, and allows, in fact, even removing pervious area and increasing the impervious area to add more recreational, outdoor, physical fitness components to it that drastically help in the success of the folks that come and stay at Sauna Lake. The last thing I'll say, again, not all of this is directly relevant to land use, but I just want to give the whole picture of what we're doing here. Sauna Lake, the reason that Sauna Lake has identified this, our community here as the appropriate community for this approach is that they have a facility outside of St. Louis, and a large amount of their patients coming to the St. Louis area facility are coming from the Kansas City area, because we don't have this sort of holistic approach here. We have plenty of other options and things that are supplemental or complementary to our use potentially here, but they don't. This is unique, and to provide this land use with these components and these amenities to it is going to be additive to our community. And because of that, and because of those folks that are traveling across the state to seek a facility like this, it is appropriate to have a facility like this in our community, because what we're going to be treating here are our friends, our colleagues, our family members. Again, folks we all know. I'm sure many of us have been touched by folks that are in need or seeking treatment for these types of things impacting them. And really, again, to kind of just speak to some specifics about who they are, 82% of the people that come to Sauna Lake are employed. 84% of those who come to Sauna Lake have private insurance, 12% private pay. A small percentage of about 4% have scholarships from the facility itself. This is not a Medicaid facility. And a majority of the folks are married who come here. So really what we're offering again are people who are in our community who need an option that provides them the level of care and the approach to the care that is going to most help them succeed in what they are trying to do for themselves. And again, this facility offers that with the land use, and it offers a very compatible use with surrounding uses given the buffering that's occurring here. So with that, I'll close. If you have any questions for me, for Paul, we're very open to any questions, and we'll answer those accordingly. And as I mentioned, also, we will get with Stacy on the stream buffer analysis immediately and make sure that she has what she needs there so that we can be back in front of you on your next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission to the applicant about this project?
I just have a quick question. It's more along the lines of operation. Is the average 23 days, or is that like the standard? That's the first question. And the second is, how many people do you intend to have at a given time at the facility? And then I didn't see any mention of like security or anything like that.
Sure. Yep, I can address all of those. So Paul, let me know if I misspeak here, but I believe the answer to your first question is both. It is kind of both the average and the typical stay would be 23 days between that 20 and 30 day range. Paul, jump in if I'm off base there, but I believe that's the answer.
Yeah, I'll just to clarify, the 23 days is the residential clinical part of it, and then we also will have a medical detox facility, and the average stay there is about 6 days. So in combination, the average works out to be in total closer to 30 days.
Thank you. 128 beds, I believe, is the current design. To your second question, with regard to security, there is security at the facility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That security is unarmed. That has not been a necessity at any other facility. We have not had incidents where that's been a necessity. There are, of course, security cameras monitoring the entire property. There are magnetic locks on all of the doors, which are opened and closed by staff. If residents go outside, they are with staff every time that they go outside the facility. But I do want to stress that these are not violent offenders. These are not folks that are detained. These are not folks that this is to draw a really bright line distinction, not a detention facility. This is a place where folks are there voluntarily. We do provide the full breadth of security that is appropriate, but it is not something where armed security, for example, are a necessity to prevent incidents that would impact the residents or anyone in the surrounding area.
Any other questions?
Sorry, my mentioned, excuse me, fencing as well around the entire property. Again, this is not a compound, to use that phrase, but it does have fencing to prevent ingress and egress to the facility.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have any age ranges on this for the patients? Typical age range?
Thank you. Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, it ranges, the minimum is 18 years, and we've had people come in their 80s. The average age is about 35.
And then the last piece I'll mention, I'm sorry to go back to this question, is that if residents do want to leave the facility, they must do so through an administrative process. People do not, they're not detained, but they don't. Once they check in, they need to check out through a process, and they need to have transportation at the time they're leaving the facility. So people do not just walk out of the facility and go on their own accord. It is handled through a system and a process that has been tried and true and proven in the other facilities used by Sauna Lake, and has been very successful in each of those cases.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? So let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. Is there anybody out there that's raised their hand to speak on docket items 9.1, 9.2, or 9.3?
Carol Winter Road has raised her hand and she has been promoted.
Okay. Good morning, Carol. If you don't mind stating your name and address for the record, please. Need to come off of mute, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Winter Road, 9400 Madison, also president of Center Planning and Development Council. This proposal was heard at one of our meetings on April 27th. And there were people there from 3 homes associations that are close to this project. That is Blue Hills, Newcastle, and Woodbridge. There is concern, especially from Woodbridge, who is closer to the project in terms of security, in terms of traffic. Once this project gets going, it's going to be a huge project. They're talking about 128 beds and an outpatient area that will continue for several years. So there is a lot of concern. Woodbridge has been wanting a meeting with Sauna Lake by themselves to discuss several problems. In fact, we were going to ask for a continuance so that this could happen before it comes to the City Plan Commission. They, I think, have already sent a letter to Shoe Wood about their concerns. Number one is, the chain link fence that they're going to put around this will look like a prison. And let's see, they have a treatment center on 132nd and Holmes that has resulted in more break-ins and car thefts in the area. And lastly, in terms of traffic. So we would recommend a continuance so that at least Woodbridge could talk in more details with Santa Lake to see how things can be worked out. And I also had a question: how can there be a rezoning without a plan? Anyway, that was listed by Shoe Wood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak on this case?
No one else has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony. And I guess as part of this discussion, is it possible between now and the next meeting to have another public meeting with Woodbridge by chance? Applicant?
May I respond? Yes, thank you. Certainly, we're more than willing to do so. This is the first we're hearing of it, candidly, just so you know. We're happy to have that. And if Carol could send me an email to the appropriate person, or Carol, if it's with you, happy to engage with you to get that established. Absolutely. That more than willing to do that. A couple of things, Carol, I think if I could point out, and commissioners, just to clear up some of the confusion it sounds like there might be. There is not an outpatient operation on site where people are coming and going. We have outpatient facilities at other locations in the metro. I don't think that the one that was referenced, I don't think it's fair to characterize there has been increased crime as due to the outpatient facility that Carol referenced, but I'll set that aside. As far as the number of beds, we're actually decreasing the buildings, of course, as I mentioned, from the residential component that was there before. It was a residential facility, age restricted, I believe, skilled nursing and assisted living facility, prior to this use. So actually there was more activity in and out, more people coming and going as far as the residents themselves, given that the folks that live at our facility will not leave our facility. So we actually believe the net traffic here will be a decrease because of the nature of that. Also, staff will be on rotation, so there's not constant traffic throughout the day. The chain link fence, I don't think will look like a prison whatsoever. It will not have barbed wire or any other component like that to it. It will just be merely like a chain link fence, which we might see around other residential, both single family and other uses in the city. And again, I'll just close with saying, Carol, very open and chairman to meeting with neighbors again before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Bob, if I may, just a further clarification on the fence. The chain link fence is only in that portion which is heavily wooded. The rest of the fencing is decorative, metal fence around the perimeter of the property.
The public facing component, that is, yeah.
Public facing, yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right, appreciate that. Any other questions from the commission at this time? And so just a curiosity through staff. So has the stream buffer plan been issued yet, or is that still something that needs to be provided?
This is Stacy Lowe with Land Development. There has been no preliminary stream buffer submitted at this time that meets the city's requirements. There was one that was preliminarily included with their initial development package. It didn't meet the city's requirements. We informed them of this at the Development Review Committee meeting, but did not receive an updated plan as subsequent to that meeting.
Okay, I guess what I'm getting to is if this is continued to the 15th, I would assume that that's enough time for that submittal to be made and you to review that?
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, I would say it's probably not. Just for public notice, I will be on vacation all next week, so I would need the submittal immediately. So I don't know if the applicant will be able to accommodate that in order to meet the timelines to give you an ability to revise the report prior to the next meeting.
Okay.
We would ask for the 15th if that's feasible for staff and the commission so that we can engage with our engineers the minute I get off here to see if how prepared they are to provide what Stacy needs. I know Stacy, you'll be on this meeting today, but as soon as you're available to re-engage with our engineers, we would welcome that so that they can get you what they need as soon as possible to move forward here as soon as we can.
Okay. Okay, anything else at this time on this particular case? Just trying to think about the date of the continuance. I mean, I understand I'd like to have it back on the 15th. And just need to provide enough time for land development department to actually review the stream buffer plan. And it sounds like they've had plenty of time to submit it in before now. And it just hasn't been.
If I might clarify, our engineers have provided an analysis. I don't think it's meeting with what staff is looking for. I would like to know a little bit more about that, but it'd be maybe more appropriate for the engineers and Stacy to re-engage offline.
Yeah.
They did provide a report just to provide the commission that information. Obviously, it's not what staff is looking for, but if a report was provided, it's not that we've been not providing the information requested. It's just not apparently here what staff is looking for. We need to know more about what that is. And I think it'd be more appropriate once I've got my engineers involved to connect with Stacy to provide what is asked for.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what needs to happen because I don't want to do that here during this meeting. If that makes sense. And I guess at worst case, if it is continued to the 15th and everything's not ready to go at that time, then we can certainly continue it again to the July meeting. Okay. Anything else, applicant or city on this case?
No, thank you.
Okay. Going to go ahead and close testimony at this time. And it looks like we're looking to continue this case to a future date. So I'm looking for a motion for that.
I move to continue docket items 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3 to June 15th without fee.
Okay.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to continue docket items 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3 to the June 15th meeting. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
I do have, that's Pulcinelli.
Crowd,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 7-0 to go ahead and continue this case, and hopefully we can get the stream buffer information as well as that public meeting, taken care of before the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. All right, everybody still doing okay? Before we move on here, so it looks like we are to docket item number 11.
Docket item 11 is case number SUP 2021-00039. This is a request to approve a special use permit in District R 1.5 on about 2 acres located at the northwest corner of East 29th Street and Forest Avenue to allow for an off-site accessory parking lot. Zach Nelson is our staff planner.
Good afternoon, or good morning rather, Zach Nelson, City Planning staff. So this next case is located in South KC, generally along the Troost corridor, somewhat close to the Beacon Hill neighborhood. So more specifically, this site is located on the east side of Troost Avenue, just north of 29th Street, with Forest Avenue to the east. The site is overall, it's undeveloped currently. There are some residences to the east. However, most of the lots to the east of the subject site are undeveloped currently. The school district owns the lot to the south and also owns the subject lot today. And the subject site itself has a split zoning of B4-5 on the western half and R1.5 on the eastern half. So a little bit of background in terms of some of the history with this site that's recently occurred. So the school district recently sold the lot to the west, bordered in yellow, to the Metropolitan Community College. And so as a result, the school district is proposing to install a new parking lot on the eastern half in that R1.5 zoned portion of the property. This will basically just bring the parking closer to the Board of Education building, which is to the south. And it'll also prevent people from having to cross Troost to get to the site itself. So this is a look at the existing conditions of the site. There is a trail on the site, it's asphalt, and there's several trees as well. And so this is the site plan showing the proposed accessory parking lot. This requires a special use permit because it's considered an expansion of a public and civic use. So north is to the right. The plan shows access off of 29th Street to the south, and then off of Forest Avenue here, kind of on the northeast corner. There's a 20-foot vegetation buffer. The code only requires a 10-foot buffer, but staff certainly appreciates the 20-foot buffer. However, on the south portion, there are some accessible parking spaces that aren't buffered. Staff has made the applicant aware that the buffering is required along 29th Street as well. And so the applicant has indicated that they intend to seek a variance for that. And then in terms of landscaping, the site will be heavily landscaped. There are street trees along Forest Avenue and along 29th Street. There's also a lot of shrubs that will provide visual screening as well. And then there's also a lot of interior landscaping as well, as you can see throughout the site. And then I just wanted to provide just some comments or some notes that the applicant provided, they stated that in order to provide the 10-foot landscape buffer along that south property line, it would ultimately result in the removal of 11 parking spaces. And so that's why that's not being shown. And then I just wanted to mention one other comment that I was recently made aware of. The applicants also intend and have submitted a petition to install no parking signs along 29th Street. So that will, the intent is really to get the cars off the street along that section and to get them into the parking lot. There will also be a 6-foot vinyl coated chain link fence around the site as well with gates. So there will be limited access to the site to provide a little bit more security as well. So staff has reviewed this against the special use approval criteria. Staff believes that it complies with all of the approval criteria. Staff believes that the use isn't burdensome to the adjacent property owners. And believes that it's appropriate and appropriately screened. As a result, staff recommends approval with conditions. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for staff on this project?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just want to talk a little bit about, has the water department looked at it? I see that this is in the CSO area, and obviously we're increasing impervious acres because of the car park. Is there any concern around that with regards to it being in the CSO area from either the water department or the land development?
Good morning, Commissioner Allen. Just Stacy Lowe with Land Development. There is a condition included on this case, which I believe is condition number 6, that requires the developer to submit a storm drainage analysis showing that they comply with the requirements of being in the CSO. And that's one of the things we'll require before they issue a permit to begin any construction on this site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. Applicant, welcome.
Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Jacks with Kansas City Public Schools, 2901 Troost. I am the Director of Planning and Real Estate. Zach did a great job of kind of going over the project. I do have a color version of the rendering. If you'd like to see it, I could share my screen. This is one where we've been talking with neighborhood leadership for more than 6 months. We got their feedback really early, knowing that this would move parking from the west side of Troost to the east side, and wanted to make sure that we were friendly neighbors to the new residents that were going to be going in. So we've made some accommodations with ingress and egress, and then the heavy landscaping on the forest side of the lot. And I think the only other thing that I would add about the 29th Street request for the variance, we did try to line up the north end of the parking lot with the existing lot lines. We did market the remaining portion of the site last year, received a couple of proposals. We haven't made a decision on that yet, but we were trying to keep the site consistent with those lot lines rather than moving it further to the north. And so you see that request for that variance. That 29th Street side borders our existing headquarters, which across the street is another surface parking lot, small, right behind our building. I think the other thing, there's one more thing that I wanted to mention. Valerie McCaw is on, one of our engineers that could answer any questions specific to what we're doing with the stormwater detention strategy, because I know that they've worked on that. So happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
I'd like to hear a little bit, if I could, about the stormwater detention from the engineer.
Yes, my name is Valerie McCaw. I'm president of VSM Engineering, and we did a stormwater study. You have to do a special holdback 1.5 inches storm for the combined sewer. We were aware of the combined sewer. We've also talked to the Water Services Department on how to exactly connect in to that sewer. It's been recently CIPP'd. So we've worked with them, and the report is in review right now. And we're very familiar with how to do the reports. Stacy is aware of our capabilities. Oh, we have an underground detention system, by the way. I guess I forgot to mention that. It's pretty large. It's about 80 by 100 feet. It's under the center of the parking. Some of the drawings you can see kind of an outline. We're using a choice of either a storm tech or the Contech underground storm sewer systems. The pipes are pretty large, 72 inches. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to get clarification on that. I was trying to understand it from the drawings over the weekend.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
I just have a quick question regarding parking for visitors. How are we accommodating that, and how much on-street parking? But we keep saying employee. Is there any ability for you visitors to park?
Definitely, Forestine. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. So this is parking for staff and employees. So we have about, I think, 10 spots more than what we currently have on the other side of the street. I will say, watching parents take multiple kids across Troost to go into our admissions department, I always get a little bit nervous. So this will be good that they are closer. So this should be sufficient for staff and visitors. Just the reference to the request for the no parking on 29th Street. This originated as a request from the neighborhood association. They have been worried about traffic along the 29th, and they've asked for that to be removed so we don't have any potential accidents with people coming in and out. We've also put in a request to Public Works to see if there are any other ways of slowing down the traffic. You know, the 29th and Forest is kind of a high point, and then you go down to Paseo. So you do have traffic that moves pretty quickly up and down that road. You'll see some great signs along that stretch between Forest and Paseo of please drive like your children live here. And so hopefully we'll have a chance with Beacon Hill Neighborhood Association and Public Works to identify some additional strategies.
So thank you for clarifying that for me.
I had a question about, is there a possibility that the parking can be used on off hours since there's a lot more development happening in this area? Is there a possibility that nights and weekends could be used for public parking or other businesses nearby?
So that's a good point. We do have a condition requesting that we make it available for shared parking. And so we've submitted some language that staff has accepted that'll be inserted on the plan, indicating that during work hours, it's intended for district and visitor, just district staff and visitors. But that, sorry, I should have this available. But that we were making the parking lot available to other users after hours with agreements. I'm trying to think, a cooperative use agreement. We looked up some language from other cities and how they have done and recommended to do shared parking. And so we're using that language. We also, when we marketed the remainder of this site, we included that one of the things that we wanted to do was to minimize the amount of surface parking. And so that we were interested in strategies where we could do some shared parking. So, you know, we're not that far along yet, but along, you know, there could be that opportunity north of this to have some shared overflow on both sides so that we are minimizing that and able to use it in off hours. And I think we likely could have some residential use in the future. So that could end up, having different hours of use of the parking. So an opportunity there.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak about case or docket item 11, please raise your hand. Doesn't seem like we have anybody out there, Joe.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, no one's raised their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Anything else you'd like to add, applicants?
No, just a request for approval with the conditions, and appreciate the help of staff in getting this one through.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close all testimony, and if there's no discussion by the commission, I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to approve docket item number 11 with conditions as stated.
Okay.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a faint second.
Sorry.
That's all right. Lisa, can you take a roll call, please, on that motion?
Yes. Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 7-0 about the project. We appreciate you bringing it in, and good luck. Okay, Joe, looks like we're ready. Yep. I guess we're on to our last case, and I'm going to need to recuse myself in this case because of my good friends are presenting this one. So, Kokithia, you're up.
Thank you, Kobe. All right, Joe, you want to introduce the case?
Yeah, docket item 13, case number SUP 2021-00015. This is a request to approve a special use permit on about 4 acres in District M1-5 located at 7900 East US 40 Highway to allow for a concrete plant. Zach Nelson is the staff planner.
Thank you. So this next case is located generally on the east side of the city in South Kansas City, near 40 Highway. So a little more specifically, the subject site is located just north of 40 Highway. So this is somewhat near the stadiums. 435 is to the east. So the subject site itself has generally been industrial and commercial in nature for many years. And that's similar with most of the adjacent uses as well. There's a salvage and car repair business to the west, and then some sort of quarrying or mining or something like that to the north. And then there's a roofing company to the east. And then the 435 off-ramp is just to the south across 40 Highway. And so the subject site itself has a split zoning similar to the last case. The northern portion of the site is zone M1-5, and the southern portion is zone B3-2. And so the applicant is here today requesting approval of a special use permit to allow for what is considered general manufacturing for the concrete plant. And that is only proposed for that northern portion within the M1-5 zone portion of the lot. And then I also want to point out that the nearest residences are to the east of 435 and are not generally visible from this site. So this is looking north at the entrance of the site. This is kind of looking from that off-ramp, just looking across 40 Highway. So there's already quite a bit of landscaping and visual screening that currently exists along the site. And then the entrance itself is currently gravel. So the site plan shows the concrete plant here on the north portion, the M1-5 zoned portion of the property with parking to the south. There is a small office located in this area here as well. There's stormwater detention in the northwest corner of the site. And then there's a drive aisle that wraps around basically the perimeter of the concrete plant. And then there's several areas for material storage as well. And then in terms of landscaping, the applicant has proposed to install many street trees along 40 Highway. And this will comply with the street tree code requirement as well. And then there's also a proposed monument sign, a new sign that's proposed. They haven't submitted a signage plan for that, but they've indicated it will comply with the signage requirements of the zoning code. And then I just wanted to briefly provide a section just giving a general idea of what the actual concrete plant equipment will look like. At its tallest, it'll be approximately 64 feet in height. So in terms of some of the operating characteristics of this business, it'll produce concrete materials that will then be transported off-site to customers. It'll have approximately 4 to 6 employees. The operating hours will generally match some of the adjacent uses. It'll be Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. They'll occasionally be open on Saturdays as well as needed. And then a total of 6 to 8 trucks will be on the site. That's not the total number of trips on the site. That's just the number of trucks itself that will visit the site on a daily basis. And so I think the applicant can probably provide more specific details about their operations if needed. So staff has reviewed all of this against this, the special use approval criteria. Staff believes that it complies with all of the criteria, with an exception of the bicycle parking. The applicant will either need to provide more short-term bicycle parking or obtain a variance by the BZA. Staff believes that this it largely matches some of the surrounding uses. It's not intended to affect any residential, any residences at all. And one of the conditions of approval also requires that that gravel drive be paved. And so that'll hopefully prevent gravel spilling onto 40 Highway as well. And so based on that, staff believes that this is, the special use permit is appropriate and staff recommends approval with conditions. I can take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Zach. Are there any questions for Zach from the commissioners?
This might be more for the applicant, but are there like safety standards or environmental standards for these type of projects in terms of what they put into the atmosphere and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I would probably have to defer to the applicant for that.
Hi, Vince Stevens with Axiom Construction, 718 Troost Avenue. Thank you for the privilege of being before you guys today. Thank you also, Zach, for being our partner through the process. We've enjoyed it. As to the environmental issues, safety issues, we are under the perspective or guidance of DNR. We have to have a DNR permit. There are initially and intermittently air quality control reviews that they do. But for the most part, they are the governing body of those kind of issues. And we are subject to their review.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I know we have all these different review agencies. I just want to make sure that these projects have that before we move forward. So thank you for the answer.
Mr. Smith, thank you. Is there any additional testimony or presentation that you have that you would like to add before we open it up to public testimony?
I'm sorry, is that a question for the applicant?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, thank you for that. I think it's worth saying that Axiom Construction Group is an existing civil contractor. And my partner, Daniel Felder, and I established axiom on two fundamental premises, that we would work in excellence and that we would positively impact this city, and that we would hire city residents. And I'm grateful to say that we have achieved that in great ways, and that we have been a concrete provider, a concrete performer at the airport and other areas where I believe we have validated that journey. And about 60% of our workforce is city of Kansas City residents, and we have performed with high marks, and we plan to continue that with the concrete plant. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question for you. In regards to the bicycle parking, will you be seeking a variance, or will you be adding more?
Kurt, are you on the line?
I am. This is Kurt Mitcher, Talaferro and Brown, 1020 East 8th Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the engineer for this project, and we submitted some revised drawings at close of business last Friday, so staff has not had a chance to look at that, where we've added the requested third parking space. We also added a color elevation and detail of the proposed monument sign for review. But like I said, that came in at close of business on Friday before a holiday weekend. So I'm certain that staff has not had the opportunity to look at that in any detail.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions to the applicant from commissioners?
I wondered if you could talk about the approximate number of trips that trucks would be making to and from the site per day.
Yeah, thank you. At our peak periods, we think that we will have 10 trips per hour. Let me think about that for a moment. 150 trips a day for a 10-hour day. So 15 trips per hour.
Can you kind of talk to where those trucks might be coming from? I'm trying to just look at the Google map and understand if somebody's coming from 435, it sounds like they can get off pretty easily and go right to your site if they're southbound. But if they're northbound, I was just trying to understand to the degree that this might impact those east communities with truck traffic. Can you just speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I will say that as Zach is aware, we have been coordinating these kind of elements with Vernon Koch of MoDOT, who understands the frequency with which we are moving trucks in and out, to the extent that he has mandated a signal detection loop in our entrance drive that we've got to pour, so that we can minimize the negative impact to traffic. We are planning, our hope is to, within a 10-mile radius of that plant, to serve the construction community. And so we think that with respect to the layout of the plant, its egress path, and where we are slated to deliver and return from, that most of that traffic will come directly from the 435 loop directly into the plant, which we think is the most efficient egress path. Is that?
I think so. Is that coming mostly? Go ahead, Kurt.
I'm sorry. You might also mention that MoDOT previously operated a concrete plant on this site for the 435 and some of the I-70 work. So this is a condition that has existed in the past as well.
Mhm.
That's good.
Okay. So it sounds like north and southbound 435 is going to be the majority of your.
Yes, ma'am. That's
And then,
primary.
okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Are there any other questions? All right, Joe, has anyone raised their hand to offer public testimony?
No one has raised their hand.
All right, given no one has raised their hand, we'll close the public testimony. If there are no other questions from commissioners, we can entertain a motion.
Are we doing a motion?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I move to approve case 13 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second to approve docket item number 13. Lisa, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries with 6 votes of approval. Hey, good luck on this project. Excited to see that you all are investing back in the city by hiring locally. So we appreciate that. And have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Take care now.
Thank you.
All right, Chair Crowell, turning it back over to you in record time.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys better make sure you finish before noon so we can be on a record here today for our meetings. I think that concludes all of our docket items. Joe, I had one question before we end our meeting. Sorry, the train is going by. Generally in August, we only have one meeting. Are we still looking at that this year?
You can. Yeah, you can. We always put that on the calendar that the commission reserves the right to cancel one of the 2 August meetings.
Okay, and we're probably at a time frame where we ought to decide that, which meeting that we won't have, or assuming that everybody wants to take one meeting off. It's up to the commission, I guess. We didn't do it last year simply because of the caseload that we had, as well as the newness of the commission itself, so that we could continue on and getting a little bit more experience. And we're obviously getting a little bit more efficient at these meetings. So any event, is anybody looking to take one of the meetings off, and which one would be best? So from a calendar standpoint.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, what's the caseload look like? Is there a backup of it?
We don't know yet what the caseload will look like for the August meetings. The next deadline arrives Friday for the first August meeting. So we don't quite know yet what that caseload looks like. I will say so far the number of applications we've gotten for August 3rd, which is the first meeting, is relatively small, but that it's typical for people to kind of wait until right before the deadline to file anyway. So it's hard to say.
Right, thanks. I just wanted to see whether we were holding up anybody, that's all.
You haven't continued anyone to either of the August hearing dates yet, so there's not an issue with that.
Just my personal preference is if we were going to skip one, to skip the 3rd, just because we might be out of town trying to get in trips before school starts. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well.
Works for me.
Okay,
Well, I was
Joe.
kind of looking the other way. I was trying to see if we skip the second one, how big of a block would that give you? Then looking at the holiday in September, how's that going to affect that? So Labor Day is what, the first Monday in September?
Yeah, that would be September 6th.
Yeah, and
So
your
we
first
would we
September
have-
meeting is the next day.
So we would
Sorry.
have the next meeting the 7th.
Correct.
Yes.
So if we didn't have a meeting on the 17th, you'd have a whole block from the 3rd till the 7th.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think my kid's school starts on the 9th, I think. So we're kind of early in terms of getting out of town. It'd probably have to be the week of the 3rd, but nothing at this point is set in stone.
So from the 20th, so that still just gives you 2 weeks till the 17th. To the 17th.
It's not something we really need to decide today. I'm assuming, Joe, we could come back to the next meeting and make that statement.
You can, however, we would not be able to, we would just have to tell all customers who are applying that we don't know if they'll be on August 3rd or 17th yet.
Okay.
I'd be down for the 3rd. Being married to a teacher, our golden rule is to always try to extend summer a few more days. So that'd be great for me.
Okay.
I'm okay with either one. I was just trying to see which one would give y'all a bigger block of time. That's all.
Yeah, I'm fine with any, at the pleasure of the rest of the commission.
Okay. Well, let's not do the September 3rd meeting then, or I'm sorry, the August 3rd meeting. We'll take a break that day.
That's fine.
Do you need a vote on that, Joe, or is this sufficient?
I think that's fine.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Like I stated in the beginning, so I talked to Director Williams about when are we going to get back into having our meetings in public. And it's just a matter of getting the meeting space and room set up so that we can do not only the in-person meeting, but also have it available for virtual. Right now, the only room for that is the council chambers. And so there's been, through COVID, a couple of meetings that have been scheduled at the same time as our meeting or right before or 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something. We just have to be, have to check those out to make sure that we can have the room through the duration of our meetings. So that's why I think we're still probably looking at the August meeting before we get back in person at the earliest. So just letting you know.
So can I go back to the docket? What happened? What happened with number 8? I don't have a note on it.
Number 8 was continued to June 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, the August gives staff the time we need to make those arrangements. Yeah, the bottom line is going to be whether we will have access to the chamber going forward. Because we can't, while the council can schedule meetings in the chamber fairly last minute, we can't. Obviously, we have to, in our notices, we have to provide recipients with the location of the hearing. So we do need to know at least a couple weeks in advance. So we've already reached out to the clerk's office to try to initiate a conversation about whether it's likely the council will continue to use the chamber on Tuesdays, the first and third Tuesdays of each month. And This also applies to the Board of Zoning Adjustment, which we also staff. They meet on the intervening Tuesday as well. But until we get that confirmation, it's hard to know, what will work. It's, I suppose, possible that the commission, in order to move back to a hybrid scenario, may have to meet on a different day or time. That's something that I would like to avoid if at all possible.
Right.
But that's something that we have to, keep in the back of our minds, that that's a small possibility that could happen.
Yeah. Just as long as
Mondays
it's not
work
on
for
a,
me.
not on a Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think it's Saturday evening. Seemed like
Yeah.
a good time to me.
I can do a Monday.
Okay.
I would just like to know as soon as possible if we're going to move it from a Tuesday so I can reschedule stuff.
Yeah. And if we have to bump it back by another month or two in order to give people time, because that we understand that would be a huge change. It would be a big change for us too.
Absolutely.
All of us everyone has standing commitments other days of the week. So if we had to do that, we may have to bump it back even a couple more months just to make things work.
Right. Okay. Anything else from the commission? All right. So I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good week, everyone.
You too.